All right, let's get into our next discussion now. 30 days from now, Nigerians will head to the polls to elect a president or who will govern for another 4 years, as well as federal lawmakers who will represent their interests.
13 days from that date, Nigerians will again head to the polls to elect state governors and lawmakers at the state level. Well, the country is preparing for the elections, and the Independent National Electoral Commission has now released a 33-page regulations and guidelines for the conduct of future elections in the country. The Commission has also banned coalition officers from making or receiving telephone calls while in the line of duty. This decision followed last September's uproar in the Osun governorship election, when the chief returning officer picked a call in the middle of the declaration of results. It was an action viewed by many as having influenced the final declaration of results.
Now, but controversy is already trailing the election guidelines released by INEC. About 61 political parties say they will take the decision to, or take the commission to court rather, over the draft guidelines for the 2019 general elections. Now, the parties are aggrieved by what they described as the flawed accreditation procedure, which they claim will allow people not on the voter register, including people with fake PVC or voters not properly accredited, to vote. All right, joining us now from Abuja is the Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mr. Rotimi Oyekomi. Rotimi, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now. Now, when it comes to this controversy, when players, political parties, candidates raise objections or raise questions as to how the guidelines are going, what are you getting from that? What feelers are you getting or vibes are you getting from this kind of reaction?
Thank you. Good morning. Let me make this point, first of all, that we are not at loggerheads with political parties. They are one of our critical stakeholders. And whatever we have done to improve the electoral system, we have always consulted them. And we don't always agree. When we disagree, we look at those areas of disagreement and we resolve them amicably. With the issue of the guidelines, we consulted widely civil society organizations, political parties, and other interest groups, and we didn't have any issue. In fact, when it was reported that some 61 political parties had issues, we were surprised because during deliberations, the suggestions they made were taken care of in the final analysis.
All right, Mr. Oyekomi, talking about this decision by the 61 political parties to sue INEC days to the polls, while you say it's surprising, what implications could this bring upon the country as we prepare for the polls?
Well, you know, I think the point of disagreement, according to what they said, was that we should go back to the old system of accrediting voters first and then they come back to vote. But let me give you a little bit of history. We started simultaneous accreditation and voting in January 2016, where we conducted the Bayelsa governorship election. And since that time, we have conducted over 190 different types of elections, by-elections, rerun elections, governorship elections. And interestingly, all these political parties have participated in all these elections without any complaints. Nigerians have not complained about it. And why simultaneous accreditation and voting? Now, after the 2015 general election, of course, there was post-mortem, stock taking, people look at areas of weaknesses and all of that. And it was discovered that about 2 million voters did not go back to the polling units to cast their ballots after accreditation. And one of the reasons was that they felt accreditation was equal to voting. Some others, when they returned later and found large crowds at the polling units, they were discouraged and went back. So all local and international observers then recommended that we should abolish that system and do the two simultaneously. And we have been doing that. And ultimately, Nigerians have benefited immensely from that.
All right. Now, this concerns right now. What is the position of INEC? Will they stand firm by this new standard they have upheld, or they'll be considering this new, call to revert to the old system?
To the old system? No, we have issued the guidelines, and we are not going back to the old system of... Are you talking about accreditation and voting specifically?
Yes, specifically.
No, we are not going back to the old system.
Okay.
In the guidelines we are continuing with simultaneous voting and accreditation. Don't forget that what is the process of accreditation? You present yourself with your permanent voter's card, and you go through the process of accreditation. The smart card reader reads your card and then authenticate it, and then you go to the biometric protocols, and then you vote. I think this is something that shouldn't take more than 3 to 5 minutes. Now, we have on our register over 84 million voters. Now, assuming 50% of them turn up, about 120,000 polling units. The process of accrediting first, asking them to go home and come back within the time frame of 1 day for the election is going to be cumbersome, and we are going to run into hitches. That means voting will continue well into the night or probably to the next day. It's going to create problems. And then we have 91 political parties now, don't forget. You know, and these are the issues that Nigerians need to consider. And we looked at all these issues and we decided that, look, this is the best way to go.
Let me quickly ask about these PVCs. Now that the PVCs and the smart card readers now have been confirmed by INEC to be used during the elections, there was a particular provision that said in the event the PVC fails to be read by the smart card reader, the APO shall refer the voter to the PO, who will politely request the voter to leave the polling unit. What does this mean? Does it mean the voter will not vote eventually?
No. There are two issues, I think, if I hear you correctly. Now, if you present yourself at a particular polling unit with your PVC that is meant for another polling unit, you'll be politely asked to go to the correct polling unit to vote. Was that the question?
In the event that the smart card reader doesn't read accurately the PVC, what happens when the person is asked to leave the polling unit?
Well, there are one or two issues. If you present your PVC and it is the right polling unit, the smart card reader will read that card. Now, if in the process of thumb printing, you know, in the process of reading your fingerprint, maybe there are technical issues, maybe the picture of another person pops up, then the officials will look at the details on your PVC and the manual voter register that will be right there at the polling unit. If the information with what we have on the PVC is consistent with what you have on the polling, you will be allowed to vote.
All right. INEC is accusing politicians of making payments to voters. We recall a report credited to the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, making these allegations. What are the concerns? What is INEC? What are the vibes INEC is getting?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
If you can hear me, I'm saying that there's a report today credited to the resident electoral commissioner of INEC from Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, saying that INEC is accusing politicians of making payments to voters. What vibes are you getting?
Well, you know, the issue of vote buying is of major concern to everybody. It's an electoral offense to try to induce voters to vote for you. and we've asked all stakeholders to help us. We discovered, of course, that some politicians are trying to buy up PVCs, and we have increased our voter education efforts to advise voters not to do that because, one, if you have somebody else's PVC, you cannot use it. If you try it, you will be discovered, arrested, and handed over to law enforcement agents. And the smart card reader will find you out. So if people are buying up PVCs, probably they are not going to allow people to go and cast their votes, which of course should be of major concern to Nigerians. But I think the important thing here is for Nigerians to guard their PVCs jealously. Don't be induced. Don't allow politicians to offer a small incentive and deny you that right to make a choice based on your conviction.
And then reports say at least 10 million uncollected PVCs still, lie across INEC centers across the country, with allegations that just broke. Mr. Oyekome, the PDP candidate, is accusing INEC of releasing unclaimed PVCs now to APC governors. How do you react to that?
No, it's not true. We can't release PVCs to other people. In fact, collection of permanent voters card is not it cannot be allowed by proxy. You have to present yourself, and there are some documentation you have to also present to get your PVC. Now, we are devolving the distribution, or we are going to make the cards available for collection in all the 8,800 and now registration areas across the country for a period of 1 week. Starting from 16th to 21st of this month. And thereafter, we will take the PVCs back to the local government offices and other areas to be designated by the commission. And a week before the general elections, all uncollected PVCs will be retrieved and stored in a safe place until after the general election. So there is no way we can give people's PVCs to those who don't own them. It's not correct.
All right. Let's put you on hold a little bit. Rotimi, we'll come back to you. Now, different people have different plans for election days, although government and other stakeholders would rather have everyone go out to cast their ballots. Now, TVC Breakfast sought the opinions of some Nigerians on their plans for February the 16th and March the 2nd, when the elections will take place.
We're counting down to February the 16th and March the 2nd, when Nigerians will go to the polls to elect who would represent them at the presidency, gubernatorial level, and the legislative assemblies. Where will you be on those days? I'm Abosede Omowi, and I'm here on the streets to ask Nigerians that same question.
I'll be at home on those days because those who voted in, they are not doing what they're supposed to do. So I see no reason why I should go out there and waste my vote.
I'll be where I will vote on election day. That's why I'll be that day. See if I'll do my voting.
I'll be at home. I'll go outside for the election to my polling booth and vote.
I'll be on election venue to vote, to cast my vote. It's my right to vote. That's it. I will not have any other thing to do that except to vote. And I have already have my card, voter's card.
I'll be at home. Although I don't have PVC, so I don't think there's a need for me to just go out because I try all my best to get the PVC. Wasn't all effort I made was not successful. So I just have to stay back at home, watch the people voting, and have my fun.
I'll be in my home. I will go nowhere because I'm not trust anybody. They promise us that we're going to do this, they're going to do that, but we see not. So I'll be in my home to pray to God. I know when it is time, God will bring a good leader that will lead this Nigeria. All of them, they are lying to us.
I'm going to be at school, but I won't be able to vote because I do not school here.
I'm a core member, and compass will be used as either collating officer or presiding officer. So I expect to be at my local government as one of the presiding officer or one of the collating officer during the election. Yes, and make money.
I'll be at home because of security, because of insecurity. you know the way Nigeria is. So nobody's to be trusted. So I'd rather hide in my parlor.
Why will I be in my house? It is my right. I need to come out for the election.
I will be at home now. I don't have voter's card.
I'm my house, I go there in my house. Why okay? I don't get voter's card now.
I will be at the house, but I will go and do election. I will come out early in the morning and go and enter queue and vote for my choice.
I just have to be in there, but because of I have my voter's card, then I've not seen what I've done for the country. But I'll be there to vote for my choice.
Nigerians there telling us where they will be and what they will be doing on election day. It's a decision where to be or what to do on election day. But remember, we all have a role to play for the development of our nation. Abosede Omoru, TVC News, Lagos.
You heard the other guy who said that I don't have a postal card.
There's still a lot of misinformation out there. Many people still don't know much about the elections and the procedures it will take.
It takes us back to Rotimi
Exactly.
Oyekome, the CPS to INEC chair here. As at today, not even so many Nigerians still know about the importance of election on one hand, what really goes out there on the other hand, and how things are going to play out. When you talk about voter education, what is INEC on its own doing deliberately to ensure that Nigerians get really enlightened, or voters get really enlightened about this voting process?
Thank you very much. We are trying very, very hard, but there is still so much to be done. This is a very large country, and we cannot do it alone, obviously. Like I always say, no matter the advertisement we place in various media platforms, we still will not be able to reach all Nigerians. In fact, there are even some people who don't speak the English language, and they are Nigerians and they are qualified to vote. But we rely also, work with our partners, stakeholders. For instance, when we started the continuous voter registration exercise, we consulted with traditional rulers to ask them to appeal to their subjects to come and register. We also appealed to religious leaders to please employ their members, and they were of great assistance to the Commission. In the same way, we work with civil society organizations, interest groups, to educate Nigerians on the importance of participating in the political process. Accompanied with that, we also encourage women, because we discovered that women seem to draw themselves back because of one reason or the other. And we continue to encourage them that not only are you required to vote, you can also participate and contest for office at any level. There's no stopping you. But I think that it's something that we still carry forward. You know, no matter how much we try, you still find that there are still people in need of information. At the state level, we go on the radio. We have various radio programs. We're on the social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And we post every day talking about, you know, important issues about the electoral process and encouraging people to participate. For instance, the uncollected PVCs that we have, it was like declaring a state of emergency, where we constantly appeal to people to go and collect their PVCs. And we respond when people send inquiries to us through our social media platforms. We respond and we solve problems. Right. I will continue to appeal to Nigerians to please participate.
So that's the key word now, active participation from Nigerians. Let me get your final take now on the issue of barring phones and photographs. Of course, even INEC officers too have also been told that they will not use their phones, especially during collation, and it also affects the voter when he or she goes on. What's the full information now?
Well, you know, the issue of phones, when the vote buying problem happened, we were about to conduct the Osun election, and we had this stakeholders forum. And the stakeholders advised us to ban the use of smartphone in the voting cubicles because they told us that people were using the smartphones to take photographs of their ballot papers with the intention of showing some vote bars outside and then collect money. And in order not to cause distraction, even our officials are discouraged from also engaging in that because, you know, election is a very serious activity and we are expected to have full concentration. So for the voter, when at the time of going into the voting cubicle to vote, you will not be allowed to take your phone in, which is just about 2, 3, 4 minutes, and immediately you leave after casting your ballot, you can collect your phone back.
All right, Rotimi Oyekomi, the Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman, thank you very much for talking to us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Okay, shortly now, we'll be talking about ASUU and the pending strike, and we have the president of ASUU standing by already. We'll come back to that shortly. Stay with us now.